All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with African Tigress finally. I finally got to meet her here in Nairobi, Kenya. So, Tigress, it's good to actually have a conversation with you face to face.
It's my pleasure. I've always been looking forward to this day.
All right, Tigress. So, we had many conversations,
Yeah.
and so what's new in Nairobi? What's going on? Because we coming into Nairobi, I see it's peaceful. I see Nairobi is definitely metropolitan. And I can definitely liken it to many cities in the U.S. How y'all got to that point?
Of course, Nairobi is growing every day. There's a lot of development coming up every day in all sectors, industrialization. I just feel like every day, if I look at Nairobi like 1 month ago and Nairobi this month, it keeps growing. That's why Nairobi is the Silicon Savannah. We call it Silicon Savannah. You have Silicon Valley in the US, so Nairobi is Silicon Savannah.
Okay, so what companies is here that maybe that we don't know about when you talking about Silicon Savannah, right?
Oh yeah, there are lots of technology companies that are coming up from Africa. Myself, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a startup trying to solve a problem in the healthcare sector. So, and there are lots of, there's a lot of innovation coming up from the young people. There are lots of technology, like just amazing innovations coming up from Nairobi, to be specific.
So let me ask you a question about some of that. So that means a lot of jobs are starting to come up a little bit more here in Nairobi because of that?
A lot of jobs?
Yes.
Of course, when you create a company, it means like, initially when you're starting, you could be like 1 or 2 people, but as the company grows, you're getting more and more people. Yeah.
Okay, so as I came in, on the plane and everything, and I'm always looking to see how many Black Americans are actually on the plane, and of course, like last year when I went to Ethiopia, I did not see many, but I did see definitely some white people show up, and so I see some Chinese, etc. For me personally, that kind of bothers me because I don't see a lot of us coming, as we should. And maybe you could tell them more than I could tell them about why we should come more than those others, because this is their home too.
Yeah, one thing, Phil, that I've noted is a lot of our sisters and brothers in the US or all over the world are talking about domination of Africa by Chinese, domination of Africa, like our people are dominating Africa. But it's so unfortunate that they're only talking about that, but nobody is coming. They should come here. So I think it's not, okay, they can only complain if at all they're actually coming. You cannot say, oh, we cannot go to Africa because people have dominated, or because Chinese, or because sons have dominated this place. If you're not coming, whom do you expect to come? So come and explore. A lot of people are coming, a lot of people from different nationalities, different races are coming and setting up businesses in Kenya, for instance. But if you're not coming, what do you expect? So don't complain if you're not coming. I've had cases of people who feel like, oh, I cannot visit Kenya, they're afraid, or I can't take, that's a very long flight. If you're that kind of person, I don't feel then you should be able to complain. If you can't visit, you cannot complain.
I do agree, and that flight is long because our first flight coming over was about it was about 8-9 hours. We had a layover in Istanbul, Turkey, and then we flew maybe another 6 hours here. It is a long flight, but when you get here, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we're coming from a different part of the world. The Atlantic Ocean is pretty good size, whether we realize it or not. And when people say that Chinese are dominating Africa, where do they get that from?
They are risk takers. They spot opportunities, and they know there are lots of opportunities in Africa. A lot of Black people all over the continent, all over the world, also know that there are lots of opportunities in Africa, but they are not risk takers enough to come to Africa. Chinese don't mind how long the flight will take, as long as like they have the goal, like this is what I want to achieve at the end of the day. That's why we have a lot of Chinese and a lot of people from different countries coming to Africa or coming to Kenya, for instance, more than black people. If you want to invest, if you want to be a risk taker, you have to take it. You have to take the opportunity, you have to take the time, you have to sacrifice your time to come and visit and see where exactly you want to invest in. So that's why you find like the Chinese probably, maybe because of the population and maybe because they can spot the opportunities, that's why they are actually coming to Africa. And it's not just Kenya, you will find them all over Africa. They spotted the opportunities and they're taking advantage of the existing opportunities, which a lot of black people know there's a lot of opportunity they could take advantage of, but they're not like really taking it. They're just complaining. You know, you can't just live online complaining. You can't live just complaining like, oh, they're like white people, Chinese people, Indians and all that. If you're not taking advantage of the opportunity, how would people know?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So let me throw some at you, because when I mentioned going to the continent, there's a few things people tell me, and I'm gonna throw them at you, and I want to hear your response. They'll say, well, you know, if they really wanted us on the continent, they would offer us citizenship. This one comment I hear constantly. Now in Kenya, could Black Americans get citizenship in this country?
Oh yes, there are a number of black Americans who've gotten citizenship. There are lots of non-Kenyans who've gotten citizenship. Just like every other country in the world, there are things that you'll need to fulfill in order to be able to get citizenship. For instance, in Kenya, you have to have stayed in the country for, I think, is it about 5 to 7 years? You have to be a law-abiding citizen. And yeah, if you are in good conduct, you can get cleared and you can easily get your citizenship. Just like anywhere in the world, there's no place that you can go land in a country, not even in all those countries that you told, oh, you need to come back to this place and all that. You know, you have to, there are some things that you really need to fulfill before you can be given the citizenship.
Right, and Kenya, you can have dual citizenship. You can have
Of
American
course.
citizenship and Kenyan
Yeah, of
citizenship.
course, for anybody who wants to, like, for instance, visit Kenya, you don't have to, like, really do away with the American citizenship. All you'll need to do is to just get a dual citizenship, invest in Kenya, do your business in Kenya, be a law-abiding, how do they call them, residents. Before you get your citizenship, you can get your residence. Be a law-abiding and just don't break any rules, you'll get it. There's no place, I don't know, do you know any place in the world where you can go and get your citizenship on arrival?
No,
Nowhere.
no country in the world.
Yeah, no
You're
country
right
in the
about that,
world.
and I wanted you to expound on that, because that's what they present to me. Like I said, I don't know no country in the world to say sure, but some of them feel that, well, since we come from, you know, Africa, we have been, you know, taken away, that we should be given citizenship, you know, when we come there, because, you know, we belong, you know, on the continent. So the next thing I would say, well, some may say, well, why is it any African leaders have reached out to us, you know, outside of the one I know about in Ghana, you know, the president of Ghana? Why isn't more African leaders reached out and say, hey, we want y'all to come back, come get acclimated here in this, maybe Kenya or whatever country?
But even when you talk about Ghana, it's not like the moment they land, they're given the citizenship. And about Ghana, I understand there are some acres of land that were allocated to African Americans or the people in diaspora who want to return to, or who want to settle back in Ghana, right? I don't know what you think about that, but to me, you know, I always think deep about everything. I don't think it's necessarily a very good idea. Yeah, you'd ask why, because I'm thinking about, so if all African Americans or Africans in diaspora moved back and they were all concentrated in a given region, they would be easily targeted if anybody wants to do away with them. Because, you know, like, for instance, the African Americans, of course, there are things that we as Africans don't know because we haven't lived with, for instance, the colonizers, but you have lived with them and you know their ways and all that. So, of course, when you come here, they would feel threatened. They would feel like you're trying to enlighten a lot of people. Imagine all of you being concentrated in one location. It's very easy to do away with you.
Right. So you believe that
They
if
should
you
be
come, it should be spread out to all
yes.
the nations.
Oh yes. A lot of people are thinking like it's a very good idea. I don't dispute that, but I'm also trying to look at the risk of that. Yeah, you can go to a location, take like really all of you could stay in one location and all that. But look at it, there are two ways to that. First, it's very easy to eliminate, to do away with you. Imagine if different countries allocated specific acres of land to you, and then you all moved to Africa in those specific places. It's very easy to do away with you because they know like this location is inhabited by African Americans, or this location is inhabited by Africans in diaspora who've like really experienced and know who we are. So it's very easy to do away with you compared to when you spread all over. So I'm not very sure if that's, I don't think that's it's a really a good idea for all of you to be concentrated in one place.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. I don't think you should be just all Ghana, Ghana, Ghana. And I tell other African Americans the first thing I say, hey, you want to go to the continent? Yeah, I want to go to Ghana. I'll go to Accra. Like everybody talks about Ghana. Like you do know there's like many countries in Africa besides Ghana. And shout out to my Ghanaian subscribers. I have plenty of them. But I just believe for me, I just got to experience East Africa first. Ethiopia reaching out to us, and then like I said, now we're here in Kenya. The thing is, you mentioned earlier that people would not like a lot of us, in particular African Americans that lived, hundreds and hundreds of years of, white supremacist terrorism here on the continent. Why did you say that? Like, what is it about us that would disrupt things here?
Because you having lived with the colonizers, you probably understand more about racism, slavery, and all that, which for us, we might not fully understand everything because most of our, for instance, education curriculum, religion, and all that has really affected a lot about our thinking, because we would think about forgiveness, we would think about, oh, it's okay, it happened as few, like lots of years ago, so it doesn't apply anymore. But that doesn't prevent the fact that there's ongoing racism, even here in Africa. Just even here in Kenya, less than 2 weeks ago, there was this man who's supposedly supposed to be a humanitarian, who works with the international, is this called the International Red Cross Commission?
Yeah.
Something like that. And he just called a woman a monkey. Yeah, you get it. In Kenya. Yet we're still very comfortable to say, oh no, it happened lots of years ago, we should forget about that. I just think, okay, we can't judge them all, but we just have to look out. Yeah.
Right, and for me, the nerve of him saying that, and you talk about the Red Cross. We in America, especially the black community, we don't donate a dime to the Red Cross because what they did during the earthquake in Haiti, a lot of people gave money to help people in Haiti when they had a big earthquake. The Red Cross would say they was going to build a bunch of houses for the people. They didn't build anything. If anything, they built 5 homes, they reported. They pocketed all the money. That's why a lot of us say we never give money to the Red Cross.
Oh,
so
wow.
then you have these organizations like you talking about, Red Cross, coming into a country like Kenya and saying we're going to do humanitarian and we're going to give vaccines and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then, I hear things like, they're trying to sterilize Kenyan women.
Oh, yeah.
And all things they're doing in these countries. And I'm over there and I see it. And, sometimes I get upset.
I don't understand. Is it true, like, okay, I don't know if it's in the US, are women given some vaccines before birth? I don't know.
Before birth?
Yeah, like when they're pregnant. Because in Kenya, it's a thing that there's some vaccines and some medicines and that people have to take before birth, because that is what they discovered that had the staff that were like really making people to be like impotent,
Yes,
and,
yes,
like,
sterile.
barren and stuff like that, or maybe giving birth to children who have defects and all that.
Right. Well, in the United States, they have from childhood all the way to adult, they have they want to take vaccines, but the one vaccine a lot of women have, well, at least women who's wised up not to take was the HPV vaccine. That one in particular, it hasn't had a lot of study time, and they were finding that one was causing some women to become sterile, as you're talking about. So, I don't, I'm not a doctor, I'm not professing to be one, but just from what I've seen, there just haven't been enough studies into the HPV vaccine. So I haven't seen, and it's just a short amount of time that I've, seen childbirth, etc., no vaccines before. And I know they give the babies certain ones, but then certain people don't give their babies certain vaccines anymore either, and that's also an issue.
Oh, well, there have been cases, and I've read reports about like the vaccines that are given to, like, for instance, pregnant women, they're making them sterile.
But
And
that's by design.
yeah,
Yeah.
and because honestly, fine, I come from, I have a healthcare background,
Hmm.
but I'm not, as a woman, if I get pregnant and I have, like, really expecting a child, I'm not going to take those.
And let me ask you a question about these vaccines. Who's giving the vaccines?
International aid organization.
Hmm. Okay. So you mean white groups?
Yeah, they're like donations.
Donations. Let me ask you a question. Why do they feel they have to donate to Africans so much?
Uh,
I'm gonna follow this up. If you look at how they treat Black Americans, why do they want to come over here and do so much for you? I'm not saying you, but Africans, but they can't stand Black Americans. Well, why is that?
I think it's just by design. Probably to try to depopulate us.
Good, right there, depopulation.
Yeah, because I feel if you look at our parents and grandparents, they give birth to healthy children.
Hmm.
We were born healthy. Our parents didn't have to take all those vaccines, but we were definitely born healthy.
Right.
And the rate at which children, I feel like the children are being born with defects and stuff like that, is higher. Some of the conditions that we didn't experience back then, we're experiencing them right now, and you find like people are taking them to be like normal, because for every defect there's a certain organization that deals with that. You have to accept it, because I feel like what the Western media is trying to teach about a lot of things is all about accepting everything. I just feel like there needs to be lots of investigation, because you thought like, oh, this condition is normal and all that. Like, they're trying to normalize everything.
Right. So basically, from what I've seen in my research, the majority of the problems have been these NGOs and these other organizations. Because I did a live stream not too long ago where out of South Africa, they had this group called SIMAR, and it was kind of like CIA slash MI6 type of group. And they were talking about how they was giving HIV to South Africans through vaccines. And the guy, clear as day, said that's what they were doing because they said they were the enemy and we were trying to wipe them out. So when this guy clearly said that, I was floored. I was like, oh my God. I was like, these people are evil. So what I'm trying to understand is, how do you guys allow them to keep coming in here, putting a needle in your arm?
Honestly, to be honest, not everybody has the knowledge.
Hmm.
And there's this thing that a lot of people believe anything white is good, anything that comes from the West is good, compared to what we have. Well, I might be wrong, but I just think it's just all about ignorance, because a lot of people, it's not like a lot of people it's not like everybody agrees to that, but majority of the people agree to that, because I think it has something to do with the kind of mental slavery,
Hmm.
whereby a lot of people believe anything that comes from the West is better than what we have. So that's why they feel like, oh, we've been given aid. As long as anything is given for free, people are like willing to take it. And most of these things just come for free. They don't have to pay for that. Oh, yeah.
Right. So Basically, the aid that's coming in, everything is whatever people are taking it. Even though you have people like Bill Gates that talked about depopulation, you have Prince William that
But
talks about
for instance,
depopulation.
Bill and Melinda Gates are one of the biggest NGOs
Hmm.
in Africa.
But they do
As
nothing for black people in the United States.
that's what should be worrying. That's what should be worrying, and
That's
that's
what
what a
Africans
lot
should
of
be worried
people.
about.
Yes, that's what a lot of people need to like really think about. Because if these people are talking about the population and they're bringing vaccines and they're sponsoring a lot, actually a lot of NGOs, there are a lot of foreign NGOs in Kenya. That's why people should get worried. And for instance, I think people need to think, if we as Africans are being given these things freely, are they still giving the same things to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora? If they're not giving you the same vaccines, why are they giving them to us?
And let me ask you a question. What's wrong with Kenyan doctors and Kenyan organizations to help Kenyan people? I believe black people can help black people. We don't need Europeans or anything to do nothing. You don't. So why is it that everybody think that, oh, well, somebody comes from Europe and they offer free whatever, it's just great. I don't understand. Like, do people think that low of themselves and other black people in this country?
I think there could be some issues to do with self-esteem, maybe. And why is it, maybe I should turn that question to you. Why is it that a lot of black people, African Americans or African British, why is it that they're not like really getting their organizations and their products on the ground? Is it because they lack resources, or is it because they don't have enough funds?
Are you talking about us in America?
Yeah, like a lot of African Americans maybe
Mhm.
are not investing in Africa as other people are getting, as other races are investing in
Sure.
Africa.
Oh, I can definitely explain to you about African Americans. Well, African Americans don't have the level of wealth that whites have. You know, you have to understand whites had got 246 years of free labor from, our ancestors. Another 100 years of Jim Crow, okay? Black people built many towns on their own. Imagine like Nairobi, right? Nairobi's built. And because they're jealous that, you guys are living in this great city, all these white mobs come and just destroy Nairobi. Well, imagine that keep happening in every major area in Kenya. And then the white people take the town, take all the houses, take everything. And that's what happened to us constantly. Like Black Wall Street was one of them, where they came and dropped bombs on the town. And so it's a long process of them taking our land, murdering, taking our farms. And in our situation, since we were more so outnumbered, outgunned, etc., that puts us in a peculiar position. So white people, in America and Europe, all their wealth comes from slavery, African slavery. So the Chinese, and how you say they're investing, but came off of white capitalism being greedy. For instance, they say, let me put a plant in China, I can pay them $2 an hour versus paying American, minimum wage, maybe $8 an hour. And that's how China became so rich. Now China's investing into Africa because China was third world maybe about 15 years ago. And that's how they came up. So it's hard for us as a group, a collective group as African Americans to say, I'm going to go invest. And then we have been propagandized as well from Western media just as much as you guys.
Yeah.
So they told us Africa is like feed the children and, oh, look at this poor little boy, and they have a white person giving them some food or
Oh, yeah.
whatever. So it's different, but it's a but. A lot of black Americans are becoming more and more successful. We have, more than 20 black Americans that came on this trip. So we're starting to come, we're starting to invest. But yeah, we've been set behind a long time. It's due to racism, white supremacy. Me, I don't want to see that happen to your country, what happened to us.
And so that's why I think it's about time.
Hmm.
Yeah, the more a lot of Black Americans, African Americans come to the continent, things would get better. But of course, for the fact that a lot of these free things are being offered by the other races, that's actually why people are just accepting it. But if like a lot of Africans in diaspora came and like told people like what you've been getting is not it, this is it. And if they were offering them as free as this our group is offering, because you know they come with a lot of incentives, you know, lots of incentives. I think that's when we can have like say we can say that would open up the eyes, you know. People would start questioning things. At this point, not so many people do question things, but as long as they're getting free aid, then that is it.
Well, let me tell you something. The white man never gives you nothing for free that he doesn't benefit off of.
I totally know that, but I'm not so sure what percentage of the population knows that.
So, let me ask you a question. In your opinion, what percentage do know it?
What percentage of the population?
Yeah.
Do I think no, like nothing is for free?
Yeah, that know like kind of like what the white man kind of is doing or have an idea what he's doing here.
Maybe 20 or 30%. That could be actually on the higher. I would be surprised if the number is actually lower than that.
Okay, so the 20 and 30% that know, the issue is they're not telling the rest of the people what they know and not spreading that knowledge.
No, of course you can tell people. For instance, I do tell people what I think about a lot of things, but a lot of people think that I'm crazy, or a lot of people are like, no, you can't say that. You get. And most of the reasons, most of the times why people would tell me that, it's mostly because of religion, Christianity. A lot of people even ask me, why you brought up in a Christian family? Do you even go to church? You know, a lot of things, because I think, like I said, it's just like messing up with the mind. And I think I've mentioned this before earlier on in an interview. And it all starts right from when people are very young, right from school, right from like when you get to school. There's some things that just start. The media doesn't help either, even like the Kenyan media and all that. There's a way they try to display anything that comes from white people is good. There's a way that they try to display the fact that, oh, white is better than black. And that even goes to the issues. That's why there are also issues to do with colorism and stuff like that. So it's just something that really needs to, even if you tell some people, they would never understand it. Because after all, you're trying to tell them something, or maybe like how it's okay to be black and stuff like that, but that's not what the media shows. So it would be very hard for people to relate to that when they see like there are maybe fair complexioned, or maybe people, maybe their colleagues who are like maybe who are like white and all that, like for international organization, get more privileges and rights than we do get. Yeah. So it's very hard to convince people in that.
Well, see, the difference in your society versus my society is we live in a predominantly white society, so colorism is a real thing. But a place like Kenya is predominantly black.
Yeah.
So why is black society pushing a white supremacist mindset on other black people? I don't get that.
What do you, pardon?
Okay, let me explain it a different way. In America, colorism, white people enforce it. But here it's mostly black people. They in control, they the majority of the population. What I'm trying to understand is, you mentioned about the mindset is still kind of colonized, but people don't really realize that they're like saying, okay, oh, you're dark skinned, you're light skinned. I remember, earlier you had mentioned a comment about maybe a light skinned black person would be called, basically white here instead of, just being another black person. Isn't that form of colorism as well?
Yes, it is. You know what? There's a lot of Western media. A lot of people watch American shows and stuff like that. A lot of people watch Western media. I think that's like really contributing to that. Yeah. So it's very hard. It's kind of hard, but I believe it's something that can be worked on with time.
Right. And one last thing I want to say, when people always tell me about, I tell them, hey, you need to go just at least visit the continent and see what they got going on. Some people may say, well, Phil, they don't like us over there. What do you say to people that make that kind of comment?
Well, to be honest, I think that's something that has been created by maybe the colonizers to divide us. How will we not like our brothers and sisters? I feel like it's something that has been created so as to keep us hating on each other. You know, I do a lot of videos. I do talk to a lot of African Americans or maybe like British or whatever that have relocated to Africa, but they always talk about, who have relocated to Africa. Of course, they are comfortable with that, but some of the viewers talk about, oh, they're just saying that, yet they sold us. Some people like really feel so bitter about it. But a lot of people don't understand that, for instance, if we talk about slave trade and all that, the method that was used about to do the slave trade across Africa was not the same. In some places, people were not actually sold. There are places where people were actually captured. For instance, when I went to Uganda, when I visited Uganda, I did a video about it, and I learned for a fact that they would trick people and capture them. They would trick people like, oh, this is a market, you bring, or maybe like if you are my family and you'd been captured, I would be told like if I bring some cereals and stuff like that, I would be released. But now they tell me you need to bring a lot of cereals in order for you to, like there was some sort of funnel, you pour it inside, it fills. If it fills, we release you. But they had a trick whereby at the bottom of the funnel, they'd put some like buckets, so they were collecting it so it would never fill. So because I would not be able to feel it, they would also capture me. So does it mean somebody sold me? No, I think it's about time that people understand that the method that was used to do slavery in Africa wasn't the same. So some people are just bitter about the slavery and the fact that maybe from history books there could be instances where people have read about people being sold and all that. And don't you think it's by design?
Yeah,
Because
I do think
nobody
it's
would
about
really,
design.
who would ever sell their relative just willingly, like, or take him, use him for whatever, like, I think it was by design. Yes, there could be places where people were sold and all that, but that happened way back, and I believe it was by design because there would come a time when people would say like, oh, you sold us. So I don't feel, I do see a lot of comments, people talking about us Africans selling them, but they should understand like we really have nothing against like our brothers and sisters, and we don't like really hate them at all. We love them.
Yeah,
They
well, you
should
know,
just, people need to research and read deep about it. And
mhm.
if someone like really thinks deeply about it, if someone is a critical thinker, they would realize that whatever they have been told is just meant to keep the narrative going on. So that like, for instance, like the African Americans or the Africans in diaspora can keep like really thinking like the colonizers are better than us because we sold them to the colonizers. But it's just something that was created by design so that it can just, keep going, and we can just keep, when you two are fighting, when two people of the same family are fighting, there's someone else who's enjoying the benefit. Like there's this African saying that says like, when two brothers fight to death, a stranger enjoys the wealth because, yeah, that's the thing that people really need to understand. And that's one thing I've like really been trying to make a lot of people understand. But some people are just so like, their mind are just so fixated and they just can't think beyond that.
I agree with that. And, I've definitely been studying, slave trade and, certain areas, yes, they did participate in trading slaves. I like, for instance, certain areas in Nigeria, they had two big slave trading ports there. And I did a whole, thing about that. And I don't hate my Nigerian brothers and sisters. I don't. They had, nothing to do with it. But the ones who make certain terms like a kata and all that, I have to check you on that. A lot of us were just taken. Some, like you say, were tricked. They had some that was told that, hey, we have we missionaries and they can come over here and help us, translate and this and that. So we'll take your prisoners, we'll take whoever. And then a lot of times they're using that to funnel slaves back to, either the Americas or the Caribbean or, the Latin American countries that we know of now. So, I mean, it's many things that was done. But for me, like you said, your statement, you're fighting each other who takes the wealth, and it's always them.
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So, Tigress, people that I'm pretty sure they know who you are. You've been on our channel a few times already. But if they don't know about your YouTube channel, can you tell them about it?
Yeah, my name is African Tigress, a Kenyan YouTuber who's like interested in Pan-African. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I call myself a Pan-Africanist. I'm interested in traveling and investing across Africa. Basically, my channel is all about how to like travel across Africa, just trying to show like real life in Africa, how we live, and yeah, which opportunities do you have to invest in Africa? Yeah, basically that's just about it.
No, now I'm definitely got to ask you a question. You mentioned Pan-Africanism. There was a conversation that said Pan-Africanism only worked one way. In other words, it worked from America to Africa, but not from Africa to America with Pan-Africanism. Do you believe that statement's true?
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that statement because there could be people who maybe have been calling themselves Pan-Africans and they don't like really show the real spirit of Pan-Africanism. So I think maybe a lot of people judged from that. And still, even at this moment, there are lots of people who call themselves Pan-Africanists, but maybe because they feel like it's a nice term to call yourself, but they really don't have that spirit of Pan-Africanism. But I believe Pan-Africanism applies to all like black people, Americans, or just all black people, Africans and all that. Yeah, the spirit of Africa.
All right, Tigers, I definitely want to thank you for joining us today and sharing with us once again. And
It's a pleasure to finally have you in Nairobi. So excited about this.
I'm very, very excited about it. And the weather feels, very good outside today. I mean, it's awesome.
I hope you enjoy Nairobi. Or basically, I hope you enjoy Kenya. And I just hope this motivates a lot of people to visit Nairobi, or to visit
And they should
Kenya.
visit. And they should visit because, it's just a propaganda and you won't get it out unless you come visit.
Oh yes, I know. I have a lot of people who, like when you talk to a lot of people from the diaspora, everybody talks about Ghana, but I feel it's about time people explored like the rest of Africa, not just Kenya. Yes, you can explore Kenya. I'm a Kenyan. Yeah, of course I'll be a little bit biased, but I feel it's about time that people like really explored the rest of Africa, because like I told you, I have my fears about everybody else going to Ghana. It could be a good thing, but you always have to think beyond. You always have to think beyond what everybody else thinks. You really have to look critically at every issue. So I think it's also about time that people explored other regions in Africa.
That I agree with. So, Tigress, thank you once again. And we'll definitely talk to you on another interview.
Thank you so much for hosting me. Karibu Kenya.